Okay. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining me on this Friday. If you have blocks, you'll have blocks by you. If you don't, I know we already had a conversation, some of us, about using books or yearbooks. You can use books, you can use soup cans, anything that has like structure and height. So preferably not like pillows, right? Because those won't support you, but something that has structure and height, have it close by. If you're someone that likes to like really cozy up at the end of class and have a blanket and, you know, extra clothing, be sure to grab that now so you don't have to get up and go get it and then come back. Oh, and one more thing before we start, I'm going to take my own advice and plug my laptop in. That way I don't hang up on you guys. There we go. Okay, we're going to start on our backs today. So go ahead and lay on down. And when you lay down, do as you wish with your legs. So if legs long feels nice to you, then let the legs go long. And if this doesn't feel nice for you for whatever reason, you'll bend your knees, plant your feet, bring the inner knees to touch and walk the feet out wide. This is called active or constructive rest. Just somewhere where you feel like you can be comfortable and soft. And then let the arms go out wide. It doesn't have to be a particular shape, just go wide with the arms. So that you can imagine your lungs having as much space as possible right now as you lay down. Allow the eyes to close. And right away, see if you can fill up all of the space in your lungs with your breath. And as you breathe in, you're breathing not just upward into the chest, but you're breathing outward, left and right, top to bottom, front to back. As if you could increase the volume, the capacity of your chest, your torso, by way of imagining the breath expanding further. And if you're newer to the yoga practice, it might be helpful to bring one hand onto the belly and invite some breath down into the belly. When the breath stays stuck in the chest, particularly the top of the chest, that's where we tend to breathe as adults in a Western society. That can be quite agitating, and it can even cause some low-level sort of disruption of the central nervous system, right? Creating low-level stress. So imagine that you could inhale so deeply that the belly, the ribs, and the chest fill. So you're an equal opportunity breather. And as you breathe here, see if you can pay just as much attention to the exhale as the inhale. Breathing top to bottom, left to right, front to back, full. Just 3 more breaths here. As voluminous as possible. After your last full exhale, Draw the knees into the chest. And for just a moment, do a little freestyle. If you want to pull the knees in and rock side to side, you rock side to side, or you roll them around in circles. They could move independently of one another or in the same shape, the same speed. But as you start to move, I'd like you to see if you can keep that same volume of the breath. You can use your hands or not use your hands. It's just an exploration of still using the breath in the same way as you start to move the legs. And then bring yourself into center. And bring the hands behind the hamstrings and start to push the hamstrings into the hands so that you're pushing the thighs away from the body, and then start to flex into the feet. And imagine that if you could see yourself from the side, you had maybe close to a 90-degree angle in the knees. And then from here, flex into the feet so much it's as if you were standing. And then see if you lost contact with any part of your back on the floor, and see if you can get really firm in the torso on the floor. And then from here, we're going to use some body maps to orient ourselves in space. And so if you get just one, that's great. And if you get a couple, that's awesome too. But this is really just to develop a better inner awareness of where we are, right? So from here, find the big toe mound of the right foot. And imagine you could push the big toe mound of the right foot. So that's the big toe side. Good. And then from here, draw awareness into the pinky edge of the right foot. And I like to really move that part of my foot so I can really see, like, oh, that's my pinky side edge. And then from here, go to the inner heel and then the outer heel. So I've just mapped 4 corners of my foot, and imagine you could draw diagonal lines from inner big toe mound to outer heel, and then pinky side edge to inner heel. And that center, where those 2 lines meet, that's the center of the foot. Do the same thing to the left foot, big toe mound, outer heel, pinky toe edge, inner heel. So it's the 4 corners of our feet, we're mapping to the center. We could do the same thing with our knees to our hips. We could do the same thing with our butt bones to our pelvic bones. A lot of you have been in class with me the past couple of weeks. This is what I've been playing with. So imagine that you could sort of orient yourself into the center, and that's really just the idea behind all of this. Okay, so from here, take your hands behind your right thigh now. Lengthen your left leg long. And for a moment, peel the head, neck, and chest up and look at your left toes. And I'd like you to draw your left toes out to the left. Right? If you're unaware of what this rotation is, this is external rotation. Then I'd like you to go back to normal, where all 5 toes are facing up towards the sky, and then go internal. So this is internal rotation, inward spiral. And then go external, outward spiral, and then go boop, neutral. Good. You can let the leg land down on the floor, and then interlace the hands behind the right thigh and push the right thigh into the hands. And imagine that you could push from the center of the hamstring into the hands. Keep the foot flexed. You're still finding the center of the foot, and then the center of the foot really slowly rises up towards the ceiling. There's a huge tendency in the yoga practice that when we are lengthening the legs, we are stretching the hamstrings. I want you to feel like you are not pulling your thigh towards you, but you're pushing the thigh away, and you're lengthening the center of the foot towards the sky. If it gets there, it gets there. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Don't worry. Take a little inward spiral to both your legs now. Slowly release the hands down on the floor. Notice the work it takes to keep the leg here. And then, like you're drawing an arc with the right heel, you're going to slowly lengthen the right heel all the way down, all the way down, all the way down, all the way down. Let it land. Soften the feet for just a moment. And then from here, extend out of the heels. Press out of the center of the feet away from you. And then draw the knees back into the chest. And it's a little freestyle, right? Freedom. You can shake out the feet. I usually feel a lot of tension in my shin when we're doing that work. So if you need to roll out the ankles, you roll out the ankles, rock side to side, and breathe volume into yourself here. Good. From here, bring your hands to behind your thighs again. Press the thighs into the hands. flex into the feet. And then from here, lengthen the right leg away from you. Bring the hands behind the left thigh. If you want to look up and do that rotation again with the leg bone, right? You're not moving the ankle, right? The center of the foot stays the same as you move and test out the rotation. You can let the right leg land down and then push the left thigh into the hands. So it's the center of the hamstring. Flex into the left foot. Slowly lengthen the left foot towards the sky. And when I say lengthen the foot towards the sky, know that I will never really cue you much to straighten your legs. That won't be the primary way I tell you to get there, right? It's lengthening the center of the foot towards the sky. So if you're at a bent knee and that's how you're going, that's how you're going. All of our hamstrings are entirely different, as you probably know. Press the thigh into the hands. It's the center of the hamstrings. Imagine that you could breathe all the way down into the hamstring. Inward spiral of the thighs. Slowly release the hands down. And then very slowly, like you're drawing an arc with the left heel, it comes down, it comes down, it comes down, and it lands. Soften the feet. Breathe volume. Notice what happens when you soften the feet. My leg bones naturally externally rotate. It opens the front of my hips, and it draws my sits bones closer together. Bring your hands to your hip bones. Flex into the feet, bring them back to neutral. Inward spiral the legs, and notice how it maybe feels like the front of the hips get closed off. But that opens up the sacrum, the sits bones away from each other. From here, go back to neutral, and then externally rotate. If you need to look, if you need the visual cue, you look, the center of the feet stays the same, and it's the entire leg bone opening to open the front of the pelvis. Good. Very slowly bring yourself back to neutral. Bring the knees into the chest, hands behind the thighs. From here, press the thighs into the hands and start to curl the head, neck, and chest up. As you curl the head, neck, and chest up, you're going to come all the way up. And then when you come all the way up, bring your legs back into the 90-degree, flex into the feet. And again, you can map the feet here if you'd like to map the feet here. I know there's a lot more going on in the body. Good. Imagine that from pubic area, right? Pubic bone to sternum, front of the pubic area, up to sternum is long. And then tailbone to the back of the head is long. Good. From here, let go of the left leg, lengthen the right leg away. As you lengthen the right leg away, pull the right knee in closer. Good. Hand back to back behind the hamstring. Press the thighs into the hands. And then very slowly come down the way you came up. Still press the thighs into the hamstrings into the hands. There we go. And then slowly come down. Right? Keep the distance of thighs away from body. Take an inhale. And then exhale, come back up. So press the feet away from you. Imagine the center of the feet could face the same direction as you slowly come back up into Navasana or boat pose. Just as much as you're pulling the legs in, press the thighs into the hands. Imagine from pubic bone to sternum is long, tailbone to back of the head, occiput is long. From here, let go of the right leg, extend the right leg, center of the foot presses away. Pull the left knee in tighter, and then press the left thigh into the hand. Return the thigh back to the hand. Press thighs away. Slowly roll down, roll down, roll down. Keep the structure of the legs. From here, drop the hands down on the floor. From here, lengthen the legs away from you. Those of you who want to work a little bit more today, you go slower. Those of you who are like, this is so arduous, you lengthen and then you drop. And when you drop, you soften. And breathe into the volume of the chest. Imagine you could breathe into the volume of the pelvis. Good. From here, knees back into the chest. Give them a squeeze first. And then bring the hands to behind the thighs once more. Press the feet away from you. Press the thighs into the hands. You're going to come back up into your Navasana, your boat pose. Pulling and pushing with the hands and the thighs. So it's not just one action, it's both. right? Lengthening the front of the body and the back of the body. Good. If you want more work, you can lift your hands up. You can lengthen the legs, but see if you can keep the structure of the torso exactly the same, regardless of what you do. This is a great place to be. Take 2 more full, voluminous breaths here. Press out of the center of the foot. Good. Very slowly cross the ankles. Roll up and over into your tabletop. If you've got to adjust the way you are on your mat to still see the screen, you do so. Good. When you come into tabletop, hands are directly underneath shoulders, knees are directly underneath hips. Start to round the spine. Take an inhale. And as you exhale, pull from pubic bone to sternum forward, and that's how you back bend. Inhale, round the spine. Fill up as much as you can. Exhale from pubic bone to sternum, pulls you forward and into back bend. Good. Continue with your breath. Inhale to round. Exhale, pubic bone to sternum is how you back bend. Good. Take this 3 more times. Inhaling to round. Exhaling to open. Good. And then very slowly land in your neutral spine. And feel for the same way that you filled up and wide on the floor when you were laying down. And imagine you could do the same thing with your body now. So imagine you could get broader left to right. Imagine more of the back of your body could, quote unquote, land. Good. And then very slowly lengthen the right leg back in space. And for a moment, notice what happens when you lengthen the right leg back in space, right? I tend to sass my butt to the left. Bring your right hip off to its own side, right? If you were to map your pelvis, if you've been mapping the pelvis with me for, it feels like eons, the last 2 weeks maybe, perineum, pelvic floor faces backwards. Good. And then from here, lift your left hand. So the right toes are still on the earth, toes are tucked. Now reach your left hand. Good. Now find your center. Crown of the head, all the way through the center of the throat, through the center of the rib cage, through the center of the pelvis, and out, one long line. Good. Very slowly lift up the right leg. Good. And it's not a high lift, right? You're not changing the structure of the torso. Recall the sensation of laying on your back and having one knee bent, one leg long. We're in that same place. Good. From here, externally rotate the right leg. Good. From here, bring your left hand back down as you swing your right foot wide, 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 wide. Yeah, if you have stuff in the way, I apologize. And land the right foot down. Imagine the right foot and the left knee are in the same line. And imagine you could land the entirety of the right foot down. So we're not just on the inner arch of the foot, but we're on the outer edge as well. Press down into the top of the left foot and then come to stand. If this part of your hip is like, just bend into the right knee and sort of do a little shimmy and then come back. Yeah, it's really dependent on like the way that your greater trochanter sits in your pelvis. So it's nothing to do with your yogic abilities. Bring your right hand to the front of your pelvis, left hand to sacrum. Good. And then really place the hand facing down and imagine that pubic bone could draw down. And the left hand is facing down in the same direction as your butt crack for your tailbone. There we go. So everything's facing down. Thank you, Justin. So we're putting a little bit more weight into the left foot rather than the right foot. Good. So both middle fingers pointing down. Awesome. Beautiful. And then from here, reach the arms up. And imagine that you could step more fully into the left knee. So notice if you're sinking out into the right hip, Step more fully into the left knee. And then very slowly drag the right foot in. Step on the right knee. Shin. And then top of the foot, lean back. Lean back. Lean back. Good. So really press down into the top of the foot. Imagine the top of the foot and the knee have the same amount of weight. And then from pubic bone to sternum, you lift. And then from tailbone to occiput, that's the back of the head, that ridge back there, that also lengthens. Very slowly pull the navel towards the spine, sink the hips back in space, come back to tabletop. Good. From here, inhale, round. And exhale, pubic bone to sternum, lifts and lengthens you into back bends. Good. 4 more times. Inhale, round. And exhale, lengthen the front of the body. Your breath, not my cue. Be as voluminous as possible. Good. And then come back into your neutral spine. And for a moment, just kind of come into tabletop and just let yourself sag, right? Let yourself sort of be, as if there's a natural way to be here, right? Let the belly go. And then pull the navel in, push the earth away, and recall the sensation of trying to fill up and be wider on the mat when you were laying down, and get wide here. Maybe even imagine left to right shoulder getting broader. And then lengthen the left leg and tuck the left toes. And again, notice any weight distribution that changed, right? A lot of us will sass our butt out to the right. Bring your left hip and imagine left hip to the left, right hip to the right, center, boom. Good. From here, lengthen the right hand forward. And then again, notice if now you're tilting over to the left. Can your right shoulder go off to the right? Left shoulder go off to the left. Find your center, pull the navel in. Good. And then imagine crown of the head, top of the head, through the center of the body, out of the pelvic floor, one long line. Good. From here, replace the right hand. Pick up the left foot, don't go super high. Keep yourself on that straight line. And then turn the left toes, externally rotate the left thigh, and draw the left leg out to the left, out to the left, out to the left, out to the left, and land the foot down. Good. So of course there's going to be some unevenness in the pelvis now, because that takes a lot of work to get there. Good, come to stand. Good. Notice differences left to right, right? Natural, normal, how it should be. We are not symmetrical creatures. Imagine right foot or left foot in line with right knee. Press down into the top of the right foot. Bring your hands front and back of the pelvis. And let's do left hand front, right hand back. Yeah, just so we're on the same page. Left middle finger points down. Imagine the pubic bone could point downwards. So that might mean that we send the right hip off to the right just a touch. And then imagine right middle finger points downwards. Maybe we open the left hip off to the left a bit. Good. Now sink more weight into the right shin. Good. From here, reach the arms up. Pull the navel in. Again, crown of the head, through the center of the throat, through the center of the rib cage, all the way down the center of the pelvis, one long line. Sink more weight into the right shin, the right knee. Slowly step the left shin to meet the right. Good. And then lean back a touch so you can get more weight in the tops of the feet. Employ the front of the legs, that's the quads. Forgot that word for a minute. And then imagine that from pubic bone to sternum, you could lift and get longer. And at the same rate of speed, the tailbone to the occiput could also get longer. So we're not sacrificing front or back, left or right. Okay, very slowly, drop the arms down, come forward, tabletop. Good. In tabletop, we're gonna lift our right arm up again. And then look out at your right hand and flip your palm up towards the sky like someone's gonna drop something in it. Good. And then flex into the right palm Good. And then very slowly bring the right hand back with a flipped wrist. Such a hard arm bone rotation. Imagine that the right heel of the palm, actually don't imagine, do it. Right heel of the palm is in line with the left heel of the palm. So it's the right hand that moves. Good. And then micro bend into the right elbow. The tendency here to whoop, snap it out. Good. From here, inhale, lift heart, lift tail. And exhale, round. If this is your first, second, third time flipping your wrists, go easy. Inhale, heart lifts, collarbones broad. Exhale, round, micro bend of the elbow stays. Good. Once more, inhale, lift. Exhale, round. Good. Come back into your neutral spine. Find all the ways that you have structure and volume. Lengthen your left leg back in space. Left foot stays on its own side. So take a peek. Left foot, right knee on a railroad track. Good. From here, I'd like you to land the left foot down. Left toes are diagonally out. Good. Bring your left hand to your left hip. Good. Micro bend into the elbow and imagine the center of the palm through the center of the elbow, through the center of the shoulder, could lift the left shoulder up higher. And then imagine that you could draw the left hip off to the left, and that brings the pubic bone forward, the sternum forward, and it's as if you could be more spherical in this side plank rather than linear. It's hard to balance, so if you're like, why is this so hard? It's just because it is, don't worry. So left hip goes off to the left. Imagine that that brings pubic bone forward, and imagine that you could become more spherical. Good. If you're steady, you can bring your left arm up and alongside the left ear. And it's almost like you're reaching and back bending up and over to the right-hand corner of your room. Good. Very slowly come down. Look down so you know where you're going. Left hand down, left knee down. Unflip the right wrist, tent onto fingertips. Sink back towards the heels. You can come into child's pose or a seat, whatever feels most appropriate for you. Just lengthen the front of the wrists. Regardless of the shape that you're in, breathe volume into the torso. Good. Very slowly come back up, tabletop. Excuse me. In tabletop here, before we do anything else, press more weight into the shins and the tops of the feet. Big toe side, pinky toe side edge. Good. From here, reach your left arm forward. Look at the hand, flip it up towards the sky. Yeah. And then for the most brutal part, flex into the wrist. Imagine you could press the hand forward as you flip, flip, flip the wrist, bring the hand back, and then land the left heel of the left palm in line with the right heel of the right palm. Heel of the right palm. Left, left, right, right. Good. From here, micro bend into the elbow. Good. Take a couple of rounds of cat and cow. Breath goes the way that you wish it to go. A micro bend into the left hand, elbow more. Recall the way that we mapped the feet. Great outer corners. Find the center of your palms. Good. Bring yourself into neutral. Even here, even though we haven't changed the torso too much, imagine left shoulder goes to the left, right shoulder goes to the right. Left hip goes to the left, right hip goes to the right. And then lengthen the right leg back in space and see if you can keep that structure all the same. Take a peek, make sure your knee and your foot are on a railroad track, and then land the right foot down. And automatically, just by way of like habit and pattern, my left butt goes off to my left so hard. But bring your right hip over to the right. Bring your right hands to your hip, but even guide it there. And if you want to feel, right, sort of like old school Vashisthasana, you can bring the right hip back and imagine that you're just in a one straight line, right? Left hip, right hip, one straight line to the sky. And then bring the right hip over to the right, and notice what happens automatically with the torso. Pubic bone to sternum gets longer. And imagine that you could look with your heart to the left-hand corner of your room. So not with your eyes, not with your head, it's your heart. Maybe the right arm reaches up and overhead. So right hip to the right, center of the left palm, going all the way up the center of the left arm, center of the left knee to the center of the left hip. Good. Slowly look down, right hand comes down, right knee comes down. Unflip your left wrist, come to child's pose or sit on your shins, your choice. One more full, voluminous breath here. Good. If you're in child's pose and your knees are super wide, walk them in together. Slowly bring yourself to come to sit on your shins. If sitting on your shins is like a no-go for you, right? You'll just do your best with this next sequence and you can find ways to modify. You can tuck your toes if you need to tuck your toes. From here, imagine that pinky side edge of the foot and big toe side edge of the foot are pressing down. Good. And imagine you could really press down into the top of the feet. The weight is not just in the knees. Good. From here, reach the arms up towards the sky. And in the same way that we've been doing, imagine that the pubic bone to the sternum could lengthen up, 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 and up. Good. Pubic bone to sternum lifts. And then tailbone to the occiput, the back of the head lifts. Good. And then if you practiced with me last week, maybe you sink back more weight into the feet and you lift the knees. And if you're like, what? Then just don't, right? Good. Very slowly land the knees down. Stretch the hips and the hands in opposite directions. Reach, 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 reach. Bring yourself forward into cow pose. Lift the heart, lift the tail. Tuck the toes, send the hips up and back, downward facing dog. When you come into down dog, play with gravity. So shift your hips side to side, step the feet up and the knees. If you'd like to take a measure and you shift forward to plank pose, shift forward to plank pose. Good. And then from here, step your dog a little bit shorter. So take one, maybe like a half of your foot step in. And then from here, see if you can bend your knees so much that maybe the thighs catch the torso. And if it doesn't, you'll just imagine that it does. But it's by way of bending the knees. It's not jamming the rib cage back towards the thighs. So come back and away, lengthen the legs, bring the chest forward, maybe kind of like this half plank pose. So combination plank and down dog. And then bend the knees, 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 sink the hips back, and maybe thighs catch torso. When thighs catch the torso, recall the sensation of pressing your hamstrings into your hands as you lift the butt bones up towards the sky and you drop the heels without losing the bend of the knees. Good, nice. And then press the hands away from the hips. Beautiful. Slowly walk the hands back towards the feet at the back of your mat. When you get there, measure 2 fists width distance apart. That's 2 fists together, like your fists bumping. Place it between the feet. That's your inner hips width distance apart. Bend the knees again as if thighs could catch torso. If they don't, they don't. Just imagine. And then take a moment here. You can use your hands for support as you rock forward and back, toes to heels. And see if you can find that center that we mapped before, center of the foot. And imagine from the center of the foot up to the center of the knee, you could lift the butt bones higher. If you can keep contact with torso and thigh, that's ideal. Good. Bend into your knees just a little bit more, drop the seat, and then very slowly roll yourself up. Keep the bend of the knees as you go. You're gonna roll all the way up to stand. When you come to stand, with your mind's eye, find the center of your foot and imagine from the center of the foot, you can move through the center of the knee up into the center of the pelvis. Good. From here, reach the arms up, interlace the fingers, flip the palms up towards the sky. When you flip the palms up towards the sky, imagine that you could keep your pinky side edge and your thumbs knitted together so that you have this little basket, and that's what presses up towards the sky. And then map yourself, right? A lot of us will back bend to get the arms up. See if you can map the point where the center of the feet moves to the center of the legs, through the center of the pelvis, through the center of the rib cage, through the center of the head, up into the center of the two hands meeting. Good. Take one more inhale here. Exhale, slowly release the hands, bend into the knees, forward fold all the way down. Walk the hands on the shins, come up half the way. And then bend the knees, walk yourself forward, walk into what feels like a normal regulation downward facing dog. Bend knees, lift hips. From here, lift your right leg up towards the sky, and for a moment, just lift it as high as it'll go. And then from here, bend into the left knee. And then find your right hip off to its own side. Flex into the right heel. Take a peek with your eyes, right toes face down. So right hip to the right, left hip to the left. Bend into the left knee even more. And imagine that your right heel is really extending back super far. This is the longest we'll hold this, I promise. Take an inhale. Exhale, drive right knee through a knee to nose crunch. Right knee comes in really tight, right heel comes towards the right butt, and then extend the left heel back in space. Good, take an inhale here. Exhale, step the right foot forward. When you step the right foot forward, again, you're on a railroad track. Bend into the right knee. Find your hands at 10 and 2, if you had a clock. Maybe right knee, right armpit meet, they become friends. If they became friends, send the right knee farther forward so that it lifts the sternum, it broadens the collarbones, and then drive the left heel back in space so you're not just hitting forward momentum. Good. Pick the pelvis up by stepping into the center of the right foot. And then your left hip goes off to the left, your right hip goes off to the right. Yes. Nice. Very slowly land to the left leg down. Press down into the top of the left foot so you come out of the right foot just a touch. And then bring the right arm up and out, and imagine that you're moving spherically, not linear, right? So there's a point in our practice where this is a very linear twist, but imagine now that you're spherical as you sweep the right arm back in space, and then slowly bring the right arm up and over, and imagine you're drawing this big arc, up and over. The right hand comes down, it comes back to its 10 and 2 place. So I realized that I just made you all look away as I did that, but ideally we're swinging out, reaching up and over, and then you swing down. Yeah, if you want to do it again, you can do it again, and that way we'll know where we are on the other side. Teaching on a screen is just so weird. When you go back to here, tuck under the back toes, look forward. Good. And just feel, right, the shape of your right leg, right? You're at a 90-degree angle. Ideally, we would step up, boop, and the left leg meets the right in that same shape. We're in a 2 fist width distance apart between the feet. Now the hands are out farther, 10 and 2. Thighs catch the torso. With thighs catching the torso, imagine that you could send the butt bones back in space as the knees come forward, as the heart lifts. Good, reach the arms back in space. Ski racer. Good, take an inhale. And exhale, come to stand, sweep the arms up. When you sweep the arms up, hook the thumbs. When you hook the thumbs, bend into the knees and imagine you're diving up and over into a pool on the right-hand side of your yoga mat. So you're bending up and over to the right. Heavy into the left foot. Good, keep the posture as it is. Drop your right hand down to your right hip. And then look over to the left and sweep your left arm to the left. And again, like a sphere, you're coming over to the left and forward fold all the way down. Yeah, we're gonna do some funky stuff today. Hands on shins, inhale up half the way. Good, exhale, plant the hands, step back, downward facing dog, bent knees, hips lifted. Come forward, plank pose, find your measure. In plank, recall that sensation of lying on your back in the beginning of class, flexing into the heels, finding the center of the foot away from you, Crown of the head lengthens. Good. Bend the knees, come up and back, down dog. From here, lift the left leg as high as you'd like to lift it. You can bend the knee, you can open the hip, you can do as you wish. And rotate the ankle around. Start to bend into the right knee. Start to send the left hip off to the left. Start to flex into the left toes. Maybe you use your eyes to get some sight on the left foot, left toes face down. Left hip to the left, right hip to the right. Bend into the right knee even more. Maybe the thigh catches the torso. Extend the heel back in space even more. We've been in this shape before. It's just a different orientation with gravity. Take an inhale here. Exhale, drive left knee through knee to nose crunch. Drive the left knee in as tight as it'll go. Left heel comes towards the left butt. Then drive the right heel back in space. I know, it's torture to keep it here forever. Some of you have already step now. It's the longest one we'll hold, I promise. You just gotta get the structure. Okay, hands into 10 and 2. My mom's smiling like, you know, she's raised an evil spawn. Now find your left knee into your left armpit. Hands at 10 and 2, and drive the left knee forward so that the collarbones could lift and you could draw to the front of the body. Good, notice how much you're dropping the hips down, extend the back heel back, and then lift the pelvis. Good. Very slowly drop the right knee down, press into the top of the right shin, and very slowly open the left arm out. On a diagonal at first, and then you open, 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 and then you start to reach the left arm up and over, up and over, up and over, circle down, hands frame the front foot. Nice, everyone. Tuck under the back toes. Step forward into a low squat. Imagine the legs could find the same shape, right? 90 degree, hands out at 10 and 2, farther out now. Broaden the collarbones. Imagine the knees go forward and the sternum goes forward. Good. Inhale here. And then exhale, come to stand. Sweep the arms up. Sweet relief in the hips. Hook the thumbs the opposite way. The non-habitual side. Bend into the knees. Dive up and over to the left. Heavy into the right foot. Good. From here, drop your left hand down to your left thigh. Sweep the right arm over to the left. Over, over, over. Sweep yourself down. Make a big arc and fold. Inhale, come up half the way. Exhale, step back, downward facing dog. Good. From here, shift forward, plank pose. Center of the foot back in space. Collarbones nice and broad. Left hip to the left, right hip to the right. Bend knees, come up and back, down dog. Good. Right leg lifts. Lift it with control. Find a bend of the left knee, send the right heel back. Right hip off to its own side. Send it through a knee to nose crunch. Keep the left heel back in space as you drive the right knee forward. So left heel, right knee, they're like polar opposites. Step the right foot forward. Find your lunge, 10 and 2. Find the right knee forward, it sends the chest forward. Find the back heel back and lift the pelvis. Good. So same structure as before. Land the left knee down. Press into the top of the left foot as if you could get more weight into that leg. Sweep the right arm out, out, out. Circle it out and around, out and around, out and around, out and around. For a moment here, right hand meets left. Tuck under the back toes. And then lengthen the back leg. Yeah, so hands are up and over to the left-hand side of the room. And then from here, drive your right hip to the right and your left hip to the left. And that should lift the pelvis up just a touch and make the pelvic floor face back towards the back of your yoga mat. Good. Walk the hands up and over. Good. Find 10 and 2. Step the left foot forward. Send the arms back. Ski racer. Take an inhale. Exhale, come to stand. Sweep the arms up. Hook the thumbs. Bend into the knees. Dive up and over to the right. Heavy into the left foot. Right hand drops down. Start to sweep yourself down, 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 and fold. Inhale up half the way. Exhale back to downward facing dog. From down dog, come forward plank pose. and up and back, downward facing dog. If you're starting to feel pretty fatigued by practice and you're gonna lose form, then you don't come forward to the plank poses anymore, right? You take maybe a tabletop or stay in dog. From here, lift your left leg up. Extend it back in space, bend into the right knee, left hip off to its own side. Maybe right thigh catches torso for just a moment. Drive it through a knee to nose crunch. Left knee and right heel are opposite, 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 opposite as you step the foot forward. Good. Find 10 and 2 in your lunge. Right hip off to the right, left hip off to the left. Left knee forward to drive the heart up. Back heel back and pelvis lifted. Slowly land the back knee down, press into the top of the right foot, left arm up. Circle it around. Get spherical, spherical, spherical. Left hand comes down to meet the right. Bring your hands to the shoulder width distance apart. Sorry for not saying that the other side. Tuck under the back toes, lengthen the back leg. And then left hip goes off to the left, right hip goes off to the right. So imagine that you could map it so that the pelvic floor is facing the back of the room. Slowly walk your hands back to 10 and 2, framing the front foot. Imagine you could step yourself forward right into ski racer. Inhale, arms back. Exhale, come to stand, sweep the arms up, hook the thumbs the non-habitual way. Inhale, dive up and over. Exhale, left hand down, sweep yourself down and around. Inhale up, half the way. Exhale back, downward facing dog. Good. Inhale, forward plank pose. Exhale, this time knees down, sink back towards child's pose. Now bring your hands back towards your heels into embryo. The inhale, we're going to raise up, sit on our shins, reach the arms up. Exhale, hips and hands in opposite directions like before. Inhale, come forward. We're gonna come into a back bend here. You have two choices. You can come into cow pose, or if you feel pretty jacked up and ready to go, upward facing dog on the balls of the feet. The center of the foot reaches back in space. If you've never done upward facing dog on the balls of the feet, it's fine, don't. Good. So if you're in upward facing dog on the balls of the feet, the center of the foot moves back in space, the pelvis is really buoyant, then the knees come up and back regardless of where you are. So know that that can always be tabletop and cow. Right leg lifts, find the center. Right leg steps forward, find your lunge. Left hip off to its own side, back knee grounds down, sweep yourself out and open. Good. This time come back into the lunge, lengthen the back leg, step the foot forward, take an inhale, arms back. Exhale, come all the way up. Hook onto the thumbs, inhale, dive up and over. Exhale, right hand comes down, you fold all the way down. Inhale up half the way. Exhale, back leg steps, left leg steps back, right leg steps back, downward facing dog. Inhale, come forward, plank pose. Good. Exhale, knees down, sink back, embryo. Inhale, rise up, reach up towards the sky. Exhale, stretch hips and hands opposite direction. Inhale like a wave, back bend of your choice. Exhale, the downward facing dog. Inhale, left leg lifts, find center. Exhale, it steps forward. Good. Inhale, right knee steps down, sweep yourself out and open. Good. Exhale, hands come down, step forward, low squat. Inhale, ski racer. Exhale, come to stand, hook the thumbs. Inhale, dive up and over to the left. Exhale, left hand comes down, spherical fold all the way down. Inhale up half the way. Exhale, step back, one leg then the next, downward facing dog. Inhale, come forward, plank pose or upward facing dog. Exhale, knees down, sink back, embryo pose. Last time. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, hips and hands opposite directions. Inhale like a wave, back bend of your choice. Exhale, bend knees up and back, down dog. Inhale, right leg lifts, find center. Exhale, drive it through a knee to nose crunch, step it forward. Back knee grounds down. Inhale, sweep out, up and open. Good. Exhale, find your squat. Inhale, find ski racer. Exhale, come to rise. Hook thumbs. Inhale, up and over. Exhale, right hand down, fold spherically. Inhale, up half the way. Exhale, back, downward facing dog. Inhale, upward facing dog or plank pose, your choice. Exhale, knees down, embryo. Last side. Inhale, sweep up. Exhale, hips and hands opposite directions. Inhale, back bend of your choice. Exhale, down dog. Inhale, left leg lifts, find center. Exhale, left knee comes forward, step it down. Inhale, right knee down, sweep it out, open like a sphere. Exhale, step yourself forward, low squat. Inhale, arms reach back in space. Exhale, use the legs, come all the way up, hook the thumbs. Inhale, dive up and over to the left. Exhale, left hand comes down, you sweep down spherically to fold. Inhale, up half the way. Exhale, hands plant, step back, downward facing dog. Inhale, plank or upward facing dog on the balls of the feet. Exhale, down to embryo pose. We're gonna come here to rest for 3 to 5 breaths. If this is not a good place for you, you can sit on the shins, you can widen the feet out, just come to a place where you can breathe the volume of your torso. So a place where you can breathe. If you're sitting up, ideally the eyes are closed, so you're not getting visual stimulus. Take a moment here to notice right collarbone to left butt bone get long. Left collarbone to right butt bone get long. Slowly come forward and up, downward facing dog from wherever you are. Good. From here, step your right foot forward. Again, you're on a railroad track with the feet. Plant the left foot down. Again, if you have connection with right knee, right armpit, the right knee comes forward to send the torso up. Lift the left arm, come all the way up, warrior two. When you come into warrior two, this stance might be wider than you're used to. I'm gonna face this way so y'all can see me. Bring your right hand to the front of your pelvis, left hand to the back of your pelvis. And if you have to lengthen the right leg to get the feeling, you can lengthen the right leg. But imagine that the right middle finger and the pubic bone could point down. And then the left middle finger and the tailbone, butt crack, could point down. Good. And then bend back into the right knee. And then recall the sensation of inward spiral. So inwardly spiral the left leg, inward spiral the right leg. Might open up the back of the pelvis. There might be a little tilt there. And then outwardly spiral, right? Outwardly, and that opens up the front of the pelvis. So now find outward spiral right leg, inward spiral left leg, and that might just plug the right hip back in space. Good, and then bring your arms out. Good. From here, look forward to the right hand. And then imagine that you can map the center of both of your feet, and you can step down into the center of each foot. Good. From here, hands come to the hips. Find that outward spiral of the right leg, inward spiral of the left. Another way to say that would be right hip off to the right, left hip off to the left. Press down into the center of the left foot so that the center of the left knee could lift up to move into the center of the right thigh, and then start to tip over a straightened right leg. Recall that sensation of pressing your right thigh into the right hand, and then start to turn the torso. Good. And then right hand comes down to a block, to a book, to a soup can, to a table, to your shin. Wherever it lands, it's nice and light. So it's the center of the right foot, through the center of the knee, through the center of the thigh bone. And then imagine that the rib cage, the right side of the rib cage could spiral up. And then imagine that the left hip could go off to the left, and that could draw the pubic bone forward, and it could draw the sternum up longer, and maybe there's a back bend, and maybe you're becoming more spherical in this shape as the left arm comes up. Maybe the left arm comes alongside the left ear. And then the breath is voluminous. But remember, the right hand is light wherever it is. Very slowly look down, unstick the back heel. Hands come to 10 and 2. Good. Back knee grounds down, that's the left knee. So we have 2 different options here. Back knee grounds down, left hand plants down, right hand stays on the hip. You're coming to Vashisthasana, but it's a Vashisthasana with the right hip moving off to its own side. So that's option number 1. If you're feeling pretty jazzed, you're stepping back into plank pose. And in plank pose, you're bending the knees. You're bringing the hands to the hips. You're bending the knees still. And as you come into Vashisthasana on the left side, you're drawing the right hip off to the right. So we're not flaring our hips up into the sky, but the right hip goes off to the right so that we're more in a line, we're more stacked. Wherever you are, bring your right hand down, step yourself back to plank pose, move as you wish back to downward facing dog. If you want to do upward facing dog, you do that. If you don't, you don't, that's just it. Yeah, nice. Nice transitions, everyone. Okay, so once we're back in down dog, find a moment to map your center, right? Find right hip off to the right, left hip off to the left. Left leg lifts and step it forward. And find your lunge to begin. So there's a reason why this is our structure. And it's not because I just don't know what else to tell you to do. Step your right foot off to the right and land the right heel down. And then again, if left knee is in left armpit, you send that forward to keep the collarbones broad. As you step down, sweep the right arm up, left arm up, come into warrior 2. Again, the stance is wider than usual. That is on purpose, right? Notice your habit, your pattern here to be like, oh, I want to be back where I am. Left hand to the front of the pelvis, right hand to the back of the pelvis. And again, if you've got to change the legs here to adjust, to find middle finger and pubic bone down, middle finger, tailbone down, you do so. Good. Takes a little wiggling. And then bend back into the front knee. Once you bend back into the front knee, I'm super tactile, so I'll do this with my hands. Find inward spiral with the thigh bones, opens up the butt bones. Find outward spiral with the thigh bones, opens up the front of the hip, closes off the butt bones. Now we find somewhere in between where the right thigh inner spirals, the left thigh outer spirals, and maybe we plug the left hip in, and then the arms come out wide. And as the arms come out wide, maybe the gaze can go over left hand. But see if you can orient yourself so that you're on the spit, right? Pelvic floor facing down, crown of the head facing up. Good. Hands back on the hips. Center of left foot to the center of the left knee lengthens, and it plugs the left femur in as you start to tilt laterally. Tilt, 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 tilt. I keep a micro bend in this knee kind of always and forever, and I would strongly suggest that you do too. So once we're here, this is a lot of work to stay here, so bear with me. Right hip off to the right. And then left rib cage off to the right as well. It's just spinning in a different way. Left hand comes down, book, block, shin, side table, wherever it is, it's light, like you could pick it up. So left side of the rib cage spiraling up towards the sky, right hip off to the right. That starts to steer the pose in a more spherical direction. This pubic bone to sternum gets longer, and maybe right arm goes up and overhead. So if you've been practicing for a while and you've heard the phrase between two planes of glass, just forget it. Right? We have hips, we have pelvises, they have width. Find more width as the right hip goes off to the right, as you can spherically inhabit this pose. Good, really slowly look down towards the left foot, unstick the back heel. So the transition is as you wish. You can come to Vashisthasana on the right knee, hands stay on the hips. Imagine there's a lot of weight in the right leg so that you barely even need the right hand, or it's Vashisthasana not on a knee, right? You're stepping back to plank pose. You're bending the knees. You're coming back. The left hip, regardless of where you go, the left hip is off to the left. Right, the butt bones stay open. Yes, that's it, Justin. That's it, Jane. You can use that wall too if you're close enough. I know. Nice job, Carrie. Gary. Okay, very slowly transfer back to plank pose or tabletop. Find your way to downward facing dog. Yeehaw. Good. Beautiful. Okay. From here, one last time, upward facing dog on the balls of the feet or tabletop into cow pose. Right, feel extension in the front of the hips, center of the feet back. Collarbones broad. Good, regardless of where you are, land the knees down, sink the hips back in space, come into child's pose. In child's pose, inhabit the volume of your shape. So breathe deep and wide, left to right, front to back, top to bottom. Good. Slowly come up and forward. Come to sit. I was gonna say sit on your seat. That's a little redundant. Sit on your seat, everyone. And then send your legs forward. And I'm gonna go to the side just to show you a little something. So if you have a blanket or, I don't know, a pillow, it's a good idea to place it underneath the sits bones. Because when we come to sit, normally, we tend to sort of sit back in the back of the pelvis. If you don't have a blanket or anything to put underneath your pelvis, I'm lifting my hands up because I know I'm wearing all black and it's hard to see. So if you don't have a blanket underneath your pelvis, keep your heels exactly where they are, flex into the feet, and then bend the knees. And then notice how that brings you boop, on your spit. Okay, so if you're doing that with me, you'll just lengthen the legs again, and you'll sit back, and then you'll pop a bend into the knees, and you're sitting upright. Good. Bring your right heel in towards your groin. And imagine that the center of the heel could face the pelvic floor. I almost forgot what that was called. Good. And then again, there's a bend of the knee in the left knee that you're sitting up on your spit. Good. From here, reach your arms up. Good. And imagine that from crown of the head down to the center of the body into the pelvic floor, it's one long line. Good. From here, start to turn the heart towards the right knee. From here, bring the left arm forward, the right arm back. Maybe left hand comes onto right knee. Right hand tends onto fingertips behind the body. Use the right hand fingertips to press in so you can keep yourself nice and broad as you start to turn around the spit, your axis, your central channel, what have you. Good. Keep flexing into the left foot. Keep a bend of the knee, especially if you feel like you're sinking back. And imagine that you could rotate around the axis of your spine so that the left side of the heart wants to spin towards the back of the room. And then inhabit all of that space, that volume with your breath. Good, very slowly release the hands. Bring the hands to behind the left thigh and broaden the collarbones and pull on the back of the left thigh to draw yourself forward to keep the collarbones broad. Collarbones broad, collarbones broad. you may stay here, right? This may be where you are today. If you feel like you have more space to go with a nice open front body, maybe you grab onto the left foot. And again, the bend of the knee is like not going away, right? So you can keep that there, so that when you reach, you can keep space. Those of you who are holding onto the foot, imagine the left side of the waist is the same length as the right side of the waist. Good. Beautiful, guys. And then from here, you can let the head drop. And then all that space in the front of the body, let it just fold down in on itself. As the head drops, maybe the head comes to the knee. If it doesn't and you have a block nearby and you want to rest your head on a block or a stack of blocks, you may do so. And if you're like, I don't know how to do that, that's okay. We can talk after. But imagine the breath could stay filling up the pelvis, the back of the body, the sides of the waist, and now especially the front of the body as we've gotten quiet and folding down. Very slowly release any holding of the hands. Press yourself back up. Switch your legs. And as you switch your legs, notice the tendency to sort of undo all the work you just did, and you're kind of sinking back in your tailbone. Right? Find the center of the left heel and towards the pelvic floor. This is as much about the fold of this leg as it is about the length of this leg. Right? Pop a bend into the right knee, flex into the right foot. Reach the arms up towards the sky. And imagine that you could see, like you could drop a thread from the center of the head and it would just plummet all the way down to the pelvic floor. Good. From here, reach up higher, slowly turn to the left. Right hand comes to the left knee. Left hand comes behind you. Press into the left hand. Yeah, right hand, left knee. There you go. Carrie, bring your hand behind you closer to your seat. Yeah, and that way you can really press into the hand and the spine gets taller. Good. Justin, see if you can sit into your right side of your seat a little bit more. Yes. There you go. And then imagine you can get longer from that place. Mom Claire, see if you can press your back hand into the floor more, maybe closer to your seat. There you go. Yeah, good. One more inhale here. Exhale, slowly release. When you release, bend back into the right knee. I always straighten the leg because habits die hard. Good. From here, hands underneath the right thigh and press the right thigh into the hands so you get that sense of lengthening away from yourself again. And from here, you can pull yourself forward by having that push and pull, right? Pulling on the thigh, pushing the thigh into the hands, and that draws you forward. You can stay here forever. This is a great place to work. This is a great place to have structure and to continue to map yourself so that you're on your center. If you have more room and you'd like to grab onto the foot, you can grab onto the foot. If you grab onto the foot and right away you collapse all the way down, maybe hand stays on the thigh for today. Those of you with your hand on your foot, can the right side of your waist be just as long as the left side of your waist? That goes for everyone, actually. Can the breath still be voluminous? Take 2 more inhales with the collarbones broad. And then very slowly, you can drop your head and allow the back to round. Maybe the head meets the knee, some blocks. Good, nice, Jane. There you go, Gary. I'm gonna build the tower. Right side of the waist just as long as the left. Fill up even the front of the body just as much as the back. Beautiful, everyone. Okay. From here, slowly bring yourself up. Draw the knees up and in, and then bring yourself down into your back. When you go, draw the knees into the chest. If there's any one last thing you absolutely must do with your body before you come to rest, now is the time to do so. If you're ready to rest, you're ready to rest. The legs go long. Create conditions for comfort. So if you need to prop yourself up in any way, you do so. And as you come to rest, allow the eyes to close. Maybe put your cell phone away. As the eyes drop back in the skull, see if you can soften the place between the brows, the backs of the ears, the sides of the neck, and the back of the throat drop. And again, feel like you can get broader left to right. And imagine that the lungs could lay down and stretch out. Releasing any last resistance, any gripping, any holding of the body. It all softens down. The breath becomes natural. And you rest. And invite your awareness back into your body. Start to increase again the volume that you're breathing. Start to fill the entire torso with breath. Inhale and exhale, even and steady. As you begin to move fingers and toes. When you feel ready, you'll draw your knees into your chest. Roll onto one side, making yourself into a seat. And when you find yourself in your seat, if you're not there yet, don't feel rushed. And if you're there, you'll take a moment to find the right butt bone, it's your right sits bone, and draw a diagonal line to the left hip bone. And then from the left butt bone to the right hip bone, another diagonal line. The place where those two lines meet, that's the center. And ideally, the center drops down into the block beneath you. From that place, the spine grows tall. And from pelvic floor to the crown of the head, you have length, you have space. Bring the hands to touch in front of the heart. Bow the gaze down over fingertips in deep gratitude to you for the ability, the willingness, the privilege to practice in this way. Give a deeper bow to each other for showing up. And even though we're not in the same room or even the same country, but we create a space that we share together. Even those of you joining the recording afterwards. Draw the thumb knuckles, the third eye center, lift the head up. From me to you and all to each other, namaste. Thank you guys. I had a really long plan for class today and I got to like 2/3 of it. So if you were feeling jazzed in your body and you want to continue practicing, half moon pose with the idea of a sphere is going to be really dope. And if you're like, why would I ever do anything else? Then that's your answer, right? I will come unmute you guys so we can say bye. If there are any questions, please feel free.